All right, folks, good morning. Grab your coffee, hit the share button, hit the like button. This show is going to be good. I'm going to enjoy it because we got Ted Brown on. I will jump into the intro for everybody here in just a second. Good morning, though, from wherever you are in the world. All right, let's get going. Good morning, folks. Welcome to the 33rd episode of FinTech Insider, the Breakfast Show US. Actually, the number 33 is dear to me because that was my number in high school sports. I like the number 33. Just so you know that, Tobias, our producer. 33 was my number, baby. I am Sam Maule, 11FS Managing Director, North America. I'll be your host for this morning's show. Do let us know where you're watching from. Please let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear where you're based. Please share the event on your LinkedIn channels to invite your friends and colleagues. Just hit that share button. It'll go right out. Hit the like button and subscribe to 11FS on LinkedIn so you'll never miss a show. Before we begin, I started doing this. 3 fintech stories that piqued my interest over the past 24 hours. The first one, Bloomberg noted yesterday that Bank of America has double downgraded Square on concerns that many of the small businesses that use its payment service will not survive the COVID crisis. Let me repeat that story for everybody. Bank of America double downgraded Square on concerns that many small businesses that use its payment services will not survive the COVID crisis. I don't know how much I buy into that, by the way, but hey, you go Bank of America. MarketWatch has a story that PayPal is planning on rolling out QR codes and QR code payments in 28 markets, including the US, the UK, and Hong Kong. I find that story to be hilarious because we've been making fun of QR codes for a decade now, and QR codes, like checks, will not go away. Simple works, folks. I don't know what to tell you. And last but not least, Forbes is reporting that Plaid or Visa, Plaid by Visa maybe, I don't know what they call it now, has launched an API exchange conveniently called Plaid Exchange. Great marketing, folks. To accelerate open banking, they're calling it API connectivity in a box. 3 stories worth digging into. However, we're not going to do any of that on this show because today we're happy to be joined by Ted Brown, founder of Digital OnBoarding. Today we're going to talk about the company, the importance of truly digital banking experiences, and rugby. Because, Ted, let's get us out of the way. How tall are you?
I'm 6'3".
All right. I am 5'7", and every year shrinking more and more. So Ted not only is a company founder, he is one hell of a rugby player, evidently, and he also lives a life better than mine because where are you in the world right now, Ted?
Well, down from beautiful Tahoe.
Oh, God. Yes. So Ted has a better beard than me. He's taller than me. And he lives in Tahoe. So for once, somebody is in somewhere nicer than me. But hey, I do love Tahoe. But as I told Ted, I get the actual beach and the actual ocean. So right now in Florida, weather's beautiful. My kids are at the beach. I wish I was too. Maybe this afternoon I'll take off. All right. So Ted, let's talk a little bit about digital onboarding. Here's what I love about the company. The name tells you everything. So good job. You didn't give me something like, I don't know, QuitBits or Cyclotron. You just said the hell with it. I'm digital onboarding. I love that. So, gee whiz, Ted, what is digital onboarding? What does your company do?
Well, it's funny. You get made fun of for a lot.
I love the name.
I was on a podcast a few years ago, and they were making fun of it. It was a throwback to the days when you named your bowling alley bowling alley.
Exactly.
And, it did. But actually, what we do might not be as obvious as you would think because the word onboarding is somewhat contentious in our industry.
Amen.
I would say most people think of onboarding as the transaction of opening up an account, and that's not actually what we do. And we debated it internally and with other people, and they said, well, we're confusing the market by saying we're digital onboarding. Everyone's going to think that we're opening up accounts, KYC funded. And that's actually what we did in our last company, which was called Andera. We did all that to open up the account. What we do with digital onboarding is we actually onboard customers to the organization to make them profitable, to make them use the products that they open. And the argument I make is that, well, when you join a company, your onboarding process isn't signing the offer letter. That's the transaction to get the job.
Yeah.
The onboarding process starts after you sign the offer letter, after the transaction, and it's everything that happens to make sure that you're productive within that organization. So that's what we do for financial institutions. We make members and customers welcome and productive within those organizations, because it's actually a kind of a skeleton in the closet of the industry. There's all this time and effort put into the transaction to get accounts opened. And when you dig into the data, a majority of those are not used. They're not profitable, and there's really no value in something like a checking account, for example, a household relationship account. There's virtually negative value in a dormant, unutilized checking account and non-relationship at that point. That's where we focus, is after the products are open, whatever the product is, make sure that the user's actually receiving the benefits of that products, and there's actually a relationship for the financial institution that they can deepen and have a real profitable banking relationship with.
So Siddharth in our comments is who, by the way, asked great questions. I'm expecting something rather deep from you, Siddharth, on this. He's a company founder based in San Francisco. And I agree with this 100%. Beautifully simple value prop. And Ted, I think you'll support me on this. One of the things I think that is the most frustrating when you talk to startup companies or founders of companies, when you say, so what exactly is it you do? Tell me about your product. And it takes 10 minutes for them to explain it to me. And it's like, I swear to God, 10 seconds. You got 10 seconds. Tell me what it is,
Obviously, I operate in that world, and I don't know what people are saying at least half the time.
That's honest. Yeah.
I lived before I escaped to the mountains here. I did live in San Francisco for about 10 months, and I would say that's the height of the location where people just spit out buzzwords, and by the end of a 30-minute conversation, I got no idea what they actually do. But yeah, we use all those things. We're using machine learning, AI, whatever buzzword you want to throw out. But I don't think that's super meaningful to people. How you get the job done, it's what you're doing that's more important.
Yeah, there's a drinking game I used to play, or I still play when I'm flying. When you go through SFO, it's just to sit down at any of the restaurants and bars at the airport and listen to conversations and literally just listen for the bingo buzzwords, right? AI, DLT, pre-revenue. Oh, that's my favorite. Pre-revenue. You're an idea. Those conversations that take place. Trisha, actually in the comments, great comment. Unused account equals an unprofitable account.
Yeah.
Amen. Yeah. Dormant accounts. That's one of the things I always get frustrated with in our business is folks that talk about the number of app downloads you have. I don't care how many app downloads you care. I care about how many actual customers you have that engage with your product day in, day out, right?
That's all that matters. And you don't see a lot of companies who we can keep on name publishing that.
Yeah.
They publish a lot about the number of accounts that they open. And anyone who's in the industry knows that that's not super meaningful.
Yeah.
So
I 100% agree. Do me a favor. Let's talk a little bit about who your customers are. You kind of touched on that. So name a typical customer of you, not the company name, but like what is the organization? What do they like?
Yeah, we focus exclusively on banks and credit unions or financial services firms. We launched the product for the very first time in January 2018 in close partnership with Digital Credit Union, DCU, in New England. And actually, I have to give credit. This wasn't my idea. I started this company 5 years ago on a different concept, and had a humbling experience that I feel like a lot of founders have, which is that your idea isn't as crack, isn't as good crack idea as you thought. And this kind of came out of a conversation with the head of member services and the head of technology, DCU. They pointed out the biggest gap we had, which was sign people up for membership, hand them a packet of brochures, send them some things in the mail, never see them again. And that just really connected with my background, which was in account opening. We built the first online account opening platform at Andera, and I knew people weren't using these products. And I knew that the financial institutions were triggering mailers to get them to use the product, and it made no sense. So anyway, we first launched in January 18 with DCU, and since then we've now got 42 live financial institutions. So just over 2 years, and so it's pretty good growth. Those institutions range from small community banks and credit unions all the way up to very large national brands. So it's a universal gap that financial institutions of all sizes feel, and they don't have a great capacity to engage with their customers or their members.
So a good question from Veronica at Truist in Atlanta. Do you identify trends or failing users, or do you engage with a client to get them active? So in other words, are you part of the process of monitoring the customers and how they're using this and be able to provide that feedback to your client?
We are. It is full cycle. It's a full cycle platform, but we do focus. We call it always be onboarding.
Yeah, I got you.
But ABO, always be onboarding, and there's a lot of different moments within a customer's life cycle or member's life cycle to engage or re-engage. But we do focus a lot on that initial engagement, because if you just look at the numbers, that's your best opportunity to make a relationship stick. Yeah. If someone isn't utilizing the services that they asked for within 30, 60 days, it's really hard to go back and re-engage with that relationship. It's almost like starting from scratch again.
Yeah.
So we do focus heavily on that initial period of time to make sure the relationship sticks. And then once it sticks, you do have opportunities to deepen that relationship and further engage.
So another good question, and you got a lot of questions coming in around this, Ted. See, simple idea, but very deep, so you can look at everywhere that it can go. So question is, I understand the value prop for FIs and the credit unions. What's in it for the end consumer? I have my own answers, but hey, I didn't start the company. How would you respond to that?
Well, for the end users, there's a lot of things that they just don't know about. They don't get told, benefits that are available to them. And you have to think that not in all cases, but in most cases, if someone takes the time to open up a new bank account, they had an intention to use it. They had some sort of intent. Right. And through friction, through lack of communication, through steps that they just don't follow through on, they don't get their original intent accomplished.
Right.
So I think there's a lot, but just big picture, if you look at the numbers, there's this big gap in people who had an intent, had a desire, sought a benefit, went through a reasonable amount of effort to get that, and aren't ending up with it.
So we saw some research that you had posted. So in terms of attracting new customers, your research shows that 71% of banking customers use digital banking services and 43% are regularly using mobile banking tools. So for banks or credit unions want to attract new customers, how is it important that they actually fully utilize the digital services?
It's absolutely important, particularly this day and age when all the branches are closed. That happens to be, one of the major activities we're helping our partners with is outreach, particularly during the pandemic. And we're seeing good adoption of things like mobile banking because you have a population, particularly an elderly population, that are the ones that were more married to branch services. They also happen to be, the part of our population that's most susceptible to the virus. So that's been a major activity, and I think it's highlighted the importance of it because you do have this, percentage of people who have stayed away from digital services because of a perception that they're either scary or complicated, difficult to use. And I think that you'll see a number of people through education and through outreach giving it a shot while the branches are closed, and realizing that maybe it's not as scary or difficult to use as they had thought.
Can you use your platform to help drive campaigns? So, I mean, so in other words, are you competing against like Google Analytics?
I
I
wouldn't
wouldn't
necessarily
think so.
put
Yeah.
Google Analytics as a competitor to this. But you could picture an instant text, an instant email that is sent as soon as a product is open or another event, and that links out to a personalized step-by-step guide that the platform creates. And that step-by-step guide is walking the user through all of the benefits available to them, the actions that they need to take advantage of those benefits. So, you could picture a text message the next day at noon after you open up your checking account. That's probably when you're working. That's probably when you need to work with HR to have your paycheck deposited in the account you just opened, and it links out to all the information you need. Secure access to your new account number, routing number, just the information you need to fill out the forms. And that's an example of one small thing that the platform would do, and it would continue to remind you to complete these actions and find out through testing of various content, various communication cadences across our network of financial institutions to do this in an intelligent way, in an automated way, because a lot of the institutions, whether they're large or small, don't have full-time people focusing on every little variable or every little piece of this very important puzzle.
So another buzzword just came out. Dan in London put this in the comments. What's your opinion of gamification along the user journey experience with the bank? Man, that was the hottest buzzword for about a year, gamification. It's one that seems to have faded a little bit. What's your opinion on that?
I mean, we use it.
We all do. I mean, it's nothing that's new, by the way.
Elements of it, where you're visually reinforcing it. But again, you call it visual gamification, call it whatever you like. I mean, to the end user, it's letting them know what you've done and what you haven't done. I mean, I personally have done this. Every now you get those bonuses in the mail, the $500 or whatever, and it gets high enough where even I'm gonna, wow, that's a lot of money. I'm gonna give it a shot.
Right.
And then you have to fulfill certain requirements, which is a reasonable idea from a bank's perspective, because they want you to see that the mobile experience is good, hopefully. See that the other services are beneficial, and get something like a direct deposit set up, because that's very sticky. But when you don't know what you have or haven't completed, and you get annoyed because you get dinged with a fee rather than the bonus you expected, it's a really annoying experience for the customer. So call it gamification, but that's what I would call, at least what we do, as a benefit to the end user in a visually pleasant way, showing you what you have and haven't done.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about, so you have an account activation platform. You talk a little bit about exactly what that is.
Sure. So again, picture an instant text, instant email as soon as the transaction's complete, as soon as you book your auto loan, as soon as your checking account's open. It's linking out to this personalized step-by-step that's outlining all of the actions that you need. That initial guide is outside of the PIN, so you don't need to log into anything. You don't have to remember username, password. You can, through a light authentication process, receive something like your account number, which many times, the only way to get that, if you open your account online, unless you memorized it somehow or jotted it down, a lot of times the only way to get that is waiting in the mail or visiting a branch. And without that number, there's a lot of things you can do. So, that's once you're even, engaging with something like that outside of the PIN, because that's where the biggest gap is. You just look at the numbers. You can build the greatest onboarding process inside your mobile app in the world, and if nobody downloads it, nobody sees it. So then, we may be then following the user inside the app as well. If an app developer has already built an onboarding process that they're proud of, you can sync that up with our SDK so that it's in sync with the entire out of outside of the PIN experience, or if they haven't gotten around to building a killer in-app onboarding process, you can use their SDK to plug in single line of code, a great experience that's completely synced out with the out-of-band experience there. So we're really just trying to make it as easy as possible for financial institutions to provide a great onboarding experience. Yes, initially when a new relationship is established, but to your earlier question, also at other points within that life cycle.
What's it like? So let's talk about working with your customers, because let's talk about the credit unions or community banks. One of the things that always comes up when working with companies like yours and fintech companies is the integration model, right? So you already mentioned you have an SDK. So what is an implementation like, right? How easy? What's the average time scale for somebody to get up and running with you?
Sure. So we took a lot of call them shortcuts to make sure people can get value as quickly as possible, and really move to a sophisticated good user experience without any serious integration required. And so most of our clients will start using they can start it from day zero. When you sign up for the service, there's pre-built assets for the common objectives that a financial institution would have,
right.
Like encouraging direct deposits, encouraging mobile banking downloads. So you don't have to design anything. You can just tweak the branding, tweak the copy, and literally upload a file of emails or mobile numbers, and they all spit out. So you could start using it with virtually no technical work at all. And some people do. Probably the fastest was about 3 weeks. You got to get marketing. Yeah, you got to get marketing to approve everything you're saying. Compliance to approve. Yeah, we can say that, those things. Then you can continue to work on integrations and whatnot to deepen that. But if you look at our, the industry, about half of institutions have virtually no follow-up process at all after an account's opened.
Right.
So they just hand out that welcome kit, the folders, and they hope for the best. So an institution like that can have a sophisticated, good user experience to continuously follow up and address this gap. The other half of the institutions, they have some sort of onboarding program. It still is very direct mail heavy. There's letters from the president. There's phone calls. There's emails that are either manually sent out or sent out by an email automation system.
Yeah.
But a lot of those kind of just get set up and forgotten about. They don't really get tested or optimized for efficacy. So those are kind of the split between the market, and about half of our customers fall into each of those buckets, and they decide to invest in this tool or turn this tool on for different reasons. But in both cases, this is not a 5-year digital transformation project. This is a relatively light-lived to make a huge impact to the institution.
So one of the things I think that's interesting about your company, you mentioned you're at Lake Tahoe right now. I think you normally live in Reno. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, so you guys are, correct me if I'm wrong, you're pretty much a virtual company, right?
We are a fully digital team, and that was controversial up until about 2 months.
I feel you.
Yeah, it's funny. We recently raised the Series A, and particularly within the VC community, a lot of VCs don't like anything that looks anything unusual.
Right.
And both teams are one of those kind of red flags. And that was the one thing they were debating before making the investment was, the perceived risk of our digital team. And then literally overnight, our perceived, risk/weakness became a perceived strength. I was like, I've been telling you guys the whole time.
Yeah.
We've invested in a digital workforce from the start. And for us, obviously, it was not in preparation for a pending pandemic. It was really just that we could, find and hire the best people in the industry very quickly, no matter where they were located. And yes, we can't bring onto the team people who don't work well remotely. But even when you filter that out and open up geographies, it becomes really an advantage for building an awesome team.
I mean, and it really is. I mean, at 11FS, we obviously were main office is in London, but we've been working the concept of working remotely now for really since we started. Doing the same thing with our clients, right? And you're right. Initially, when you went in and talked to some of your clients, it was like, wait a minute, you're not going to be here when you're doing this. You're not going to be, I don't have to open up cubicles for you to work out of here. And yeah, hey, welcome to the new normal, right? There's a buzz phrase for you.
We got a vendor management, document from some of our clients who are making sure people are, have a policy for working from home, and they were really easy for us to fill out. And the thing about security is that with everything in the cloud, it's very secure from that standpoint. You really just have to worry about protecting the endpoints, and the abilities to do that are very sophisticated these days.
All right, folks, our time's running out. Want to make sure that you're able to get in touch with Ted. So where's the best place to find more about you and digital onboarding?
Sure. Our website is digitalonboarding.com. If you search for it, we should be probably number one on SEO.
I would hope so.
Of our creative name. So reach out on the website. You can email me directly, ted@digitalonboarding.com. Call my cell phone, 732-996-8399.
Oh, there you go. That's a first, by the way. First time I've ever heard anybody give out their cell phone number.
Send me a text. That's probably the easiest. If I don't answer, the phone number's from Jersey, which is where I'm originally from, because they're usually spammers.
There you go.
Send me a text. We'd love to chat.
I love that. All right, everyone else, for me, it's Sam Maule on Twitter, or you can email us at breakfastshow@11fs.com. Everybody, thanks for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Ted. How was the